The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Central Emergency Services, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 34957. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new fire apparatus. Let's start at the front bumper area. On the passenger and driver's side, you'll find dual air horns embedded in the front bumper. Also in the front bumper, you'll find an electronic siren PA speaker. Located directly in the center, you'll find your mechanical siren. And then just to the right of that mechanical siren, in the image, you'll find the slot for your unit identifier. Moving up onto the cab itself, you'll find an emergency warning light. This is the lower front. And then moving up to the headlight structure, you'll find high and low beam headlights. High beam will be on the inside. Moving up to the next structure, you'll find a turn indicator and an emergency light, and 3 windshield wipers across the seamless one-piece windshield. Let's take a look at some close-ups. Let's look underneath the bumper, where you'll find 2 open-ended tow hooks attached to the passenger and driver's side frame rail. As we look at some close-ups here, you'll find the mechanical siren and unit identifier location placard. Moving over to the right, you'll find your air horn, and then obviously to the left, you'll find an additional air horn. As we move to the headlight structure, you'll find low and high beam headlights, and above that, emergency light and a turn marker indicator. Let's take a look at the mirrors. We have dual mirrors, flat and convex. Moving up to the brow, you'll find 5 clearance lights, and then directly above that, you'll find a forward-facing brow light. Moving further up onto the top of the roof, onto the side, passenger and driver's side, you'll find a side-facing floodlight. As we move toward the center of the roof area, you'll find your forward-facing opticom. And then just above that, you'll find your emergency warning light bar mounted on the roof. Let's go ahead and take a look at some close-ups of the items we just talked about. First, let's start with your mirrors. Then we'll move up to the very top, take a look at the side-facing floodlight. And let's go ahead and move back down to the bumper area, where we'll find a bumper extension side-facing emergency warning light, passenger and driver's side. As we move up from this location on the A-pillar, you'll find a marker turn indicator light. And then let's look into the space for the operator. This is the step well. You'll find an air inlet. As we move inside the door, you'll find affixed to the door panel all of our safety and warning information. And you'll also find this yellow placard. This is information provided to you from Pierce. It's information about your vehicle. It has the date of manufacture, 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight rating, cold tire inflation, the VIN number, all of the fluid capacities for each component, fluid capacity type, and fluid type. Let's move to the seat area. Just below the seat pedestal, you'll find, when plugged into shore power, your voltage regulator will identify your volt level and also maintain battery charge. As we move to the seat, you'll find comfort controls located on the right-hand side. Your seat is an air ride. As we move down to the floorboard, you'll find first accelerator on the right and also a brake treadle. Moving up to the upper left, your master battery switch is silver. Moving to the right is the engine, transmission, ABS, and diagnostic port, and J1939. You'll also find your ABS diagnostics and also engine diagnostic switches, and also engine regen and inhibit regen. Moving up to about the left knee, you'll find your pump shift. There are instructions here from road to pump and from pump to road. You need 2 green indicators before exiting the cab for pump operations. Let's move up to the console area, where you'll find the start switch and ignition switch on the left-hand side. Moving just inside of that location, you'll find a switch labeled EM, which stands for Emergency Master. This will engage or disengage all of your emergency lights. Headlight switch, and then a switch labeled panel, which will brighten or dim lights within preview of the operator. On the opposite side of the steering column, you'll find your OK to engage the high idle indicator and switch. Moving just down from that location, you have a tandem axle. This is your inter-axle differential lock. Red light will indicate that it's engaged. As we move to the right, you'll find your main mirror and convex mirror controls. And then as we move up, you'll find your diamond yellow, pull to apply your system parking brake, and push to release. Just to the right, you'll find the Allison transmission pad, digital. As we move up from this location, we've got some switches here. These are rocker switches, high beam flash, air horn or electric horn, that is in the selector switch, siren or horn, selector switch, a red siren brake for your mechanical siren, load manager, and Opticom. As we move just up from this location, we've got your engine brake on and off, a setting switch for the engine brake for low, medium, and high, differential lock on and off, differential lock activated, that's an indicator, and then off-road traction and a protected tire train switch. Moving just to the right, you'll find front wheel lock and mirror heat. Some future switch locations if are necessary. In the upper right corner, you'll find your windshield wiper and push for fluid. As we move further up, you'll find climate control, heat defrost, and also a heat for the rear. As we move down, we'll find caution information here regarding disengaging your retarder when on wet or slippery surfaces. This is a provision mount which raises things up above the engine cowling. As we move overhead of the operator, we'll identify a few of the switch panels. Let's first start on the far left-hand side. Starting with the emergency master, roof light, front warning, side warning, lower rear warning, and upper rear warning. When any of these switches have been engaged, the light will illuminate within the switch indicating that it is on. Let's move further to the right. We'll find an additional bank of switches, rocker switches also, front flood, moose light, driver flood, passenger flood, rear flood, and perimeter lights. Same thing. When the switch is in activation mode, the light will illuminate indicating that the light is on. Moving further to the right on the same area, we're going to find our traffic advisor. And then moving further toward the center of the cab, we're going to find our siren control for the electronic siren and PA speaker. As we move down, we do have a provision mount here, twist style or rotating, and then also a fan and our seatbelt information, red indicating someone is in the seat, green indicating someone is in the seat and buckled. We also have directly in the center a do not move your apparatus if this light is flashing, indicating you have a compartment or door ajar. Just a general look around the cab, we'll see our hanging headsets located in the center. As we move exterior to the wheel area, you'll find a sight gauge located for your axle. You'll also find the shoreline inlet directly over the front axle. It is an auto eject 20 amp plug, and then also a provision here for your unit identifier. Let's move inside the cab where we'll find affixed to the door panel all of our safety and warning information, also a red strap at the inside location at the hinge for gaining access in and out of the cab. As we look to the lower section, this is that red strap. As we look to the lower section, you'll find your heater controls on the right-hand side. Those are the black mesh screens. You'll also find rear-facing SCBA seats. You'll also find an SCBA mount just inside the right-hand side of the door. As we look to the compartments, you'll find netting material, LED lighting inside, and then also on the back wall, you'll find when plugged into shore power, this outlet plug here will be active. Let's go exterior now to the very bottom of the pump panel. This is just to the rear of the cab. We'll find our main drain, and also we have a pump panel that is fully enclosed, and that is what this is a release to gain access into the lower section. D-handle gains access into the running board storage location for your tubbed hose storage. Just a general view of the lower portion of the pump panel. Let's start down at the very bottom with all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. These are lift style latches. As we move to the right, we'll find manifold drain. This is going to be a twist right to left. I'd also like to point out this warning label that only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment, and only after they've received proper training. As we move up, we have two 2.5-inch discharges. Moving further to the right, we'll find this minimum operation maintenance schedule. We'll go over that in just a moment. And we'll also find the driver's side auxiliary inlet. This is a recessed ball valve with a female coupling. As we move to the right, additional drains, and then further to the right, we'll find this placard, your Watrous placard, indicating a pump model CSU 1500 GPM pump. Further to the right, you'll find your pump main drain, and then just beneath that, you'll find the manual pump shift. As we look inside the compartment here, gaining access behind the pump panel, you'll find a foam fill operations. The yellow handle as the instructions are on the back side of the door. For regular operations, horizontal. For fill, vertical. Let's move now just to the right of this location where you'll find your auxiliary foam fill functions for foam inlet and also foam strainer. I would like to point out this warning regarding foam failure. Don't mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. The Pierce logo American flag eagle, large diameter pump intake, and then we'll have our your driver's side number 1, passenger side number 2, and driver's side number 3 discharge handles. Crosslays 1 and 2 are going to be foam capable and also CAFS capable. The 2.5 inch is also CAFS capable and foam capable. As we move down, you'll find your large diameter passenger side discharge. It's a 12-to-1 ratio on the wheel. And then as we move further to the right, you'll find your fire pump primer push to prime air, 1000 RPMs for best practices. Let's move just to the right where we're going to find first the engine cooler. This is a twist, not a pull. As we move down right next to the fire pump primer, you'll find your tank fill and recirculating line. And right next to it, you'll find your tank to pump. Let's move just up on the pump panel. We'll first start with the red push button for your air horn. This will activate the air horn. And then also we have a thermostat controlled gauge heater. It is automatic. The on switch will indicate when it is in operation. As we move further to the left, you'll find the rear inlet. And then moving further to the left, you'll find driver's side rear discharge, foam capable and also CAFS, your deluge discharge, and then also your water level tank indicator. Let's go ahead and move up to the upper left-hand corner of the pump panel, starting first with this placard regarding your CAFS compressor. It is a 140 CFM at 125 PSI. We do have also a placard here for operation. This is the instructions for your Hercules CAFS system. To the right in the blue, that's your Hercules CAFS system. Please see the owner's manual for more information on its operation. We do have an audible alarm down in the lower left. The outer edge of this bezel does allow it to dampen or brighten the sound. Let's move just to the right where you'll find your foam system. This is the control module here in red. And then just to the right, you'll find the foam system for Class A. Please see your owner's manual for more information on the foam system. This is going to be your pressure throttle governor. On the left-hand side, if illuminated, it would be yellow in color, and that would be a check engine light. We do have a digital readout for the RPM. Moving further to the right, you'll find a stop engine. If illuminated, it would be red in color. As we move down to the orange menu button, this allows you to scroll through the various functions of your throttle pressure governor. We do have diagnostic information we'll display in the windows here, and then also a silence button, which is red, allowing you to silence any audible alarms that may be sounding due to the pressure throttle governor. As we move down, we have the blue buttons, pressure and RPM. Those are the two options for your mode. And then also a digital readout for the menu descriptor screen. Moving just to the right, you'll find a throttle ready indicator indicating it's okay to engage the throttle. You'll also find a preset button, which is green, allowing you to preset any pressure or RPM. At the very bottom, you'll find your throttle right to increase, left to decrease, push in the center for idle. And once again, on the right-hand side is that small speaker that does have an outer edge of the bezel, allowing you to dampen the sound. This is directly tied to your pressure throttle governor. In the upper right-hand side, you'll find your panel lights, an OK to pump indicator, and also scene lights. Let's move up here to the minimum operation maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 PSI. You'll see at test pressure the associated GPM for that test, and then also the associated RPM. Let's move just to the left into the gray area where you'll find your master intake gauge. Just to the right, you'll find the master discharge gauge. Between the two of those gauges in that same gray area, you'll find the test gauge ports. They are currently plugged, and these are for testing purposes. Let's move further to the left. We have the specification for your Husky 12 system. This is the operating instructions and then also the specifications for this device. As we move to the very front section, you'll find the number 1 crosslay, number 2 crosslay, and 2.5 inch. On the vertical sheet, we do have fold down steps for gaining access to go aloft to the very top, along with grab handles. Let's move to the very bottom where you'll find your foam pump drain and also foam pump intake drain. As we move now to the body, you'll find side-facing emergency warning lights. You'll also find 2 locations for rigid hose for suction drafting, a side-facing emergency warning light, and then just behind the rear axle, you'll find your folding wheel chocks. Let's take a look at some things in detail here. Let's first down in the lower corner, those where those 2 valves were for your foam system. As we move up into the first compartment on the body, you'll find 2 drawers here. Lift the handle, gains access, they will lock into position. As we move up to the very top, you'll find a grab chain for gaining access to that upper portion. And then also the blue is going to be your def cap. Moving down to the axle, tandem axle, you do have Michelin tires, XD N2s, and then also SCBA bottle storage locations located between the 2 axles for 3 SCBA bottles. They do have retaining straps to hold the bottles for security. As we move just over the axle, you'll find a side-facing emergency light. And then as we move to the very rear compartment or rear of the axle, you'll find your silver ultra low sulfur diesel fill location. Let's take a quick look just under the rear axle and we'll find our wheel chocks. There are 2 folding wheel chocks located here. And on the door directly above, you'll find the unit identifier 926. As we look inside the compartment, once again, you'll find LED lighting in all of our compartments and ventilation. Let's move around to the rear of the apparatus. We'll identify a few things here, starting first with the DOT light tail lights. At the top, you'll find an emergency light, brake, turn, and reverse light. This cluster is the same on the passenger side. As we move up, you'll find deck light and also rear hose lights. These are for your hose bed. As we move to the upper left-hand corner, you'll find storage location for your folding porta tank. We do have some warning labels I'd like to go over. First, a warning regarding fall hazard. Do not ride on the vehicle while it's in motion. And also, if you are climbing on the vehicle, make sure you face the vehicle while climbing. And there is a warning regarding entanglement hazard because of those hoses coming from aloft, the possibility of entanglement. Just above those warnings, we do have a rear-facing LED water tank level indicator. On the very back on the dump tank, you'll find a safety red handle here, allowing you to gain access to the main valve, which is the longer gray handle. As we move up from this location, we're going to find a rear inlet. It is a 2.5-inch female coupling. As we move to the right, you'll find a large diameter discharge. And then let's move all the way down to the very bottom section, just above the tailboard, where you'll find a lift and turn will gain access into a lower compartment. And then also you have 2 attachment points just to the right and left, which are attached to the frame rail. As we look to the very rear, we'll find our rear dump. It does swivel and also extend. And then we'll move up to the upper right-hand corner on this. This is going to be for your unit and identifier plaque. And then also just above this, we've got a long-handled tool storage location, and you can see the base of the ladder that you have. As we move to the very center, we'll find our traffic advisor. Just above that, we'll find a rear-facing scene light, a recessed backup camera, and then also 2 emergency warning lights, one just behind the ladder area and then one on the right-hand side. Let's go ahead and move to the top of the rear section of the body. We'll identify first a walking space. This is indicating the edge of the walking space, the yellow reflective identifiers. You'll also find grab handles, and at the very top section, your 360-degree emergency warning light at the rear end. There are also access panels with inside the panels, and your panels are broken into multiple locations. This is going to be top fill access to your water tank. As we move to the opposite side, we'll find top access for the foam tank. This is still the water tank access location. This is going to be on the driver's side. Rear section of the hose bed. Then we'll go ahead and move over toward the passenger side.
additional access panel here. Once we go inside here, I would like to point out this is the fill location for topside for tank A foam. And there is a warning information here indicating do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. We're just in front of the dunnage area, and this is the location where we'll find our CAFS system. You will need to access this for daily checks for oil. You'll also find on the opposite side our Husky foam system hydraulic reservoir. There is a shutoff and also a sight valve. We're now looking at the crosslays and then also some information here regarding warning. This is an extremely slippery surface, is not intended as a walking surface. Let's take a look at the side of the vehicle. We'll identify we've got two ladders on the side, a straight and then also an extension ladder. We'll go ahead and work through these compartments next. First, starting at the rear of the apparatus, adjustable shelf, ventilation, and then also when plugged into shore power, this outlet will be active. Let's go ahead and look upward here, and we'll find these ladder attachments at the very top section. These are for long-handled tool storage. And as we move down, you'll find the pull and turn to release your ladders. You'll also find SCBA bottle storage location here. Push and then pull the latch outward, gains access into this space. We also have retaining straps inside. Moving between the two axles, you'll find additional SCBA bottle storage and also an emergency warning light. There are up to 3 bottle storage locations in this area with tethered straps. As we move above this area, we have 2 longer compartments directly over the axles. Then let's go ahead and move down. Just in front of the rear axle, you'll find this warning label regarding extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures. Be cautious where you park your vehicle, especially during regen. As we move underneath the apparatus, you can see here your tire chains. Let's go back to the compartment now, where you'll find a pull-out tray in the lower section and an adjustable shelf. And then just a quick shot here of the upper ladders. These are the front section of the same ladders at the rear. And as we look to the top side facing emergency warning lights, let's go ahead and move now to the mid section of the apparatus on the passenger side. We'll identify a few things here. As you remember, on the passenger and driver side, we have a drop-down panel here to enclose your entire pump. That's the release mechanism there, and also perimeter lighting on this side. As we move up onto the running board, D-handle gains access into a hose storage location in this running board. We'll take a quick look at the lower section of the pump panel. We'll first start in the lower left-hand corner with all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Moving slightly to the right and up just a little bit, we're going to find our Pierce American Flag Eagle logo. This is our large diameter pump intake. As we move further to the right, we'll find the 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet. This is going to be on the passenger side again. Access panel, and then also additional drains. We have twist and also lift style. As we move upward, we'll find the water strainer for your pump system. And then moving further up, you'll find a discharge 2.5-inch. And then just to the left, we'll find our large diameter discharge, passenger side. There are 2 modules here I'd like to talk about. One first, starting with the powered equipment rack. This is for your ladders. We have instructions for raise and lower, and also a danger information here regarding the movement of that ladder rack. Master battery switch on, light gives you a green indicator up or down. We also have a cab lift, instructions for both raising and lowering. Ensure you have all items secure with inside the cab. As we move to the midsection, these are the cross lays. We have access panel to gain access behind the pump panel. Lift and turn will gain you access into this area. As we look inside, you'll also find there is an LED light and a switch on the very back wall. Let's pull back out and move upward, where we'll find an additional panel. Grab handles to gain access to the top area. As we move forward on the cab section, let's take a look at the rear section by the front tire, or rear of the front tire. You'll find LED lighting for perimeter lighting and also your doorstep. As we move into the door wheel, you'll also find LED lighting for the doorstep. As we move into the cab, you'll find the red grab handle at the panel side or hinge side, which will gain access for in and out for firefighter safety. You'll also find rear-facing SCBA mounted seats, and in the very center between those, we're going to find our access panel for daily checks for oil and transmission behind this pan door. As we move to the officer seat, on the A pillar is where you'll find the fill location for your windshield wiper fluid. As we move up, you'll find these red labels indicating loose wires, termination behind, and then also on the left 12-volt access via barrel style and USB. We also have siren control, mechanical siren control, and air horn. Down in the lower section, your seat is an air ride, comfort control. Back of the seat does possess an SCBA. And as we look to the door panel, once again, all of our safety and warning information here for firefighter safety. Congratulations, Central Emergency Services, on your new fire apparatus, job number 34957. If you have any questions regarding your vehicle, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.